2024 is the year when I finally managed to get rid of my gaming backlog. It amazes me just how many games I had on Steam that I either hadn't finished or had never touched after purchasing them. In total I played 36 games on Steam, and that number goes to show how easy it is to get a bigger PC backlog when Steam continues to tempt you with nice deals for games. Not everything I played was great. There were some games in my backlog that I didn't like too much. Take Turok 1 and Turok 2 Seeds of Evil for instance. These classic N64 first-person shooters were groundbreaking in their time, and Night Dive Studios did an impressive job remastering them for PC. However, I found the level design, especially in Turok 2, too confusing to fully enjoy. I often had to rely on a guide just to figure out where to go, with the infamous Lair of the Blind Ones level standing out as particularly frustrating. While it was fascinating to revisit these classics, they're not games I'd eagerly play again. Then there's Battlefield 4. Revisiting this game on PC a decade after I first played it on the Xbox 360 was an eye-opener. I had fond memories of the game's campaign, but it turns out nostalgia had clouded my recollection, as the campaign was riddled with bugs, making it incredibly frustrating at times. I still like the mission setup, and trying to get all badges and unlocking all weapons is really addicting, but it certainly isn't as flawless as I remembered. The multiplayer remains excellent, though it's unfortunate that the online player base has dwindled significantly. Playing the game again was enjoyable, but it didn't quite recapture the magic I remembered, and in some ways it tarnished the nostalgia I had for the campaign. Even so, it was a worthwhile experience that reminded me why Battlefield 4 is still a beloved title in the franchise. My relationship with XCOM 2 was more complicated. I first played it on PlayStation 4, but quickly grew frustrated with the relentless alien invasions that constantly derailed my progress. I gave up, convinced it wasn't the game for me. However, a Steam sale, including all the DLC, inspired me to give it another shot. And this time on PC it clicked. Maybe because it was more player friendly to play it on PC, or because I was in a better mindset to appreciate the game. The game felt more enjoyable and intuitive, though the Alien Hunters DLC made things unnecessarily difficult. Luckily, after searching online, I found a way to cheese these bosses and was able to see the end credits, making it 30 enjoyable hours. And this just goes to show that sometimes it's better to give a game another chance. Beyond these ups and downs, I played some amazing games this year, such as Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor, a thrilling experience featuring the innovative Nemesis system, which sadly hasn't been replicated in other games due to its patent. Gravity Rush 2, an overlooked gem with gorgeous art, charming characters and gameplay that improves upon the original. The Order 1886, a short but enjoyable cinematic experience that I appreciated, especially since I didn't have to pay full price. Until Dawn, a gripping horror game that kept me on edge as I tried to keep everyone alive. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. Despite its bugs, this RPG's immersive world and intricate clan dynamics make it unforgettable. Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl, another glitchy yet captivating game. It stood out as one of the most immersive experiences I've ever had. Streets of Rage 4 manages to take what makes the series great and put a modern spin on it. It is now more accessible than ever, with online features and a lot of playable characters that you can unlock by playing the game. And on top of that, the Anniversary Edition not only adds more playable characters and new moves, but also a survival mode that is incredibly addictive. The developers made an incredible modern installment in the Streets of Rage series that is a blast to play with friends on the couch. I had a blast playing Dragon's Crown Pro, a beat 'em up with RPG elements perfect for couch co-op. It reminded me of classics like Castle Crashers, adding replay value with its mechanics and variety. Meanwhile, 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim, made by the same developers Vanillaware, left me mesmerized with its convoluted yet beautiful plot. It was like piecing together a puzzle, and the reward was an unforgettable story. A charming third-person platformer that's not made by Nintendo comes in the form of Ahead in Time, which starts off great with the stellar first world, where you are free to go in any direction you want and find all of the collectibles. After the second world, which takes place on a movie set, the game begins to go down in quality. Luckily, the game's final DLC, Yakuza Metro, is the best part of this game, making the game end with a banger. Finding Paradise was a game recommended to me, and it completely took me by surprise. With its sharp humor and the charming dynamic of Dr. Neil Watts and Dr. Eva Rosaline, the story becomes even more engaging. The duo's contrasting personalities add depth, making it a joy to experience the narrative not just from your perspective but also through theirs. At its core, Finding Paradise is a poignant tale about regrets and the ways we create coping mechanisms for negative emotions like loneliness. This universal theme resonates deeply, which is why the story feels so compelling. Complementing its emotional narrative is an incredible soundtrack that makes up for the game's lack of voice acting. Among first-person shooters, Fear stands out for its remarkable intelligent enemy AI. I never felt like I could breeze through enemy encounters. Instead, every battle required careful consideration of level layouts and enemy positions. The slow motion mechanic not only adds a cinematic flair, but also provides a strategic edge in a game where you're just a few hits away from defeat. The synergy between level design and enemy AI creates some of the most engaging gunplay I've ever experienced. No two encounters feel the same. Fear is a definite highlight of my 2024 gaming experience. And how could I not mention Death Stranding? Before playing, countless YouTubers tried to convince me it was terrible. Yet when I finally sat down to play, I found it far more enjoyable than expected. Hiking across its vast landscapes gave me a sense of peace reminiscent of real-life adventures. That said, it's not flawless. The story didn't grab me and the boss fights were underwhelming. Still, this game's ability to provide a relaxing and meditative experience while exploring is something I deeply appreciated. Despite its shortcomings, Death Stranding turned out to be a surprisingly enjoyable journey. Now it's time to begin my list with number 10. What happens when the world changes around you but your way of life can't keep up? What do you leave behind if no one remembers you? These are the questions Arthur Morgan confronts in Red Dead Redemption 2. As he grows increasingly disillusioned with Dutch van der Lind's methods. While the narrative raises these compelling themes, the experience is often undercut by gameplay mechanics that quickly grow repetitive and tedious. The game's commitment to realism, requiring players to clean weapons, eat, shave and navigate with limited fast travel options, can feel more like a chore than an enhancement to the immersion. The game seems torn between its gripping linear story and the freedom of its open world. Instead of complementing each other, these elements often clash, leaving the game feeling unsure of its identity. It might have been more cohesive as either a hands-off open world experience or a more focused cinematic narrative. Despite these flaws, Red Dead Redemption 2 offers one of the most compelling stories in gaming, with richly written characters that are unforgettable. It may lack the replayability of its predecessor, but its narrative depth more than makes up for it. I have fond memories of playing Total War Rome with my cousin, strategizing together and watching our plans unfold in epic battles that felt so realistic and awe-inspiring at the time. Years later, my interest in ancient Chinese history led me to Total War 3 Kingdoms, and it quickly rekindled my love for the series. Though I initially struggled with the mechanics, starting a second campaign allowed me to apply what I had learned, and the game became incredibly addictive. The just one more turn syndrome took hold and hours flew by. Few games this year have captured my attention so completely, making 3 Kingdoms an easy favorite and reigniting my interest in turn-based strategy games. My first playthrough of Deus Ex Mankind Divided back in 2018 was enjoyable but forgettable. This year, after playing the original Deus Ex and other installments in the series, I revisited Mankind Divided and gained a much deeper appreciation for it. I also enjoyed Human Revolution, which seems to have served as a blueprint for Mankind Divided. While it doesn't have the memorable characters of Human Revolution, the level design and player freedom are exceptional, second only to the original game. Stealth gameplay is incredibly satisfying, offering countless ways to approach objectives. The story and characters may fall short, but the game's world building, mechanics and player agency make it a standout entry in the Deus Ex series and one that deserves more recognition. While Far Cry 2 was already a step in the right direction, Far Cry 3 truly laid the blueprint for all future installments in the Far Cry series. Everything Far Cry 2 lacked, interesting characters, truly open world, rewarding exploration and gameplay, Far Cry 3 implemented. It introduced a leveling tree that made it worth it to fight enemies, earning valuable experience points used for helpful and meaningful upgrades. And most importantly, it connected the gameplay with the story. As Jason Brody grows stronger, so do you, creating a satisfying sense of progression. The story, elevated by Michael Mando's unforgettable performance as Vaas, is one of the most memorable I've experienced. Far Cry 3 set the blueprint for future entries in the series and remains a benchmark for open world shooters. For me, the most enjoyable part of any Souls game has always been the exploration. Discovering shortcuts to make your journey easier is immensely satisfying, and The Surge 2 excels in this area. It has some of the best level design of any game in the Souls genre, filled with shortcuts and secrets that kept me thoroughly engaged. On top of that, the unique combat system where you can target specific enemy body parts for crafting materials ensures that every enemy encounter feels fresh and rewarding. Most of these mechanics were already present in the first game, but the sequel just improves on them, making it undoubtedly the best of the 2 games. While the boss fights are underwhelming, The game's stellar exploration and mechanics make it one of the best non-From Software Souls-likes I've ever played. I always love playing addictive card games, and Inscryption is easily the most unique and intriguing card game I've ever played. The game eases you into its mechanics, teaching you how to build your deck and win the game. In the beginning it definitely feels like a horror game. Its eerie atmosphere and surprises keep you on edge. You will quickly learn that there's more to do than just play the card game, and this is where Inscryption truly stands out. The game will surprise you in many interesting ways, creating secrets that are best experienced by yourself. So play it if you want to see what Inscryption has to offer and why so many players, myself included, praise this game. The remake of the original Resident Evil still holds up visually today, so many years after its initial release. Though the voice acting is still a bit rough, it is nowhere near as bad as the original. The game still has the fixed camera angle, but this adds to the tension, as you never know what is around the next corner. I love the tension and decision making I have to do with the limited number of items I can carry. This makes every item you take with you extremely important, and you have to preserve healing items and ammunition as much as possible. It is easily among the most intense Resident Evil experiences I have experienced so far. Everything has been executed to perfection. The game remains an intense and polished survival horror experience, living up to its legendary status. When I initially played the original Half-Life, I liked it, but it did feel like I couldn't fully grasp what it must have been like to play it when it was released in 1998. I liked it, but I didn't love it. That changed when I decided to play Black Mesa this year, and was blown away by the incredible remake of Half-Life. Not only giving a graphical overhaul, but also implementing new features and changing level design, most noticeably improving the dreaded final planet, though it is still not perfect, as the increased length also means it overstays its welcome a little. That being said, the overall experience is in my opinion an improvement of the original game, making the greatness of the first Half-Life finally click for me, and seeing why it is so beloved. Thus I couldn't stop playing and finished the game in a single weekend, showing how well the game has been put together. Replaying Spec Ops The Line this year reminded me why it's such a standout title. The gameplay is serviceable, but the story is unforgettable, with its haunting twists and moral dilemmas. As I was replaying this game, I already knew what was going to happen, so this time I paid more attention to the presentation and the small hints that are given before the big twist. And what a twist! Rarely will I play a game where after seeing the credits roll, I look up online to learn as much about the game's development, story and unanswered questions, but Spec Ops The Line is one of those games. I wanted to show my appreciation for this game, so I decided to 100% it on Steam, a decision I didn't regret one bit, as I just love this game so much. In a gaming landscape that is still dominated by shooters, just like the time when the game came out, Spec Ops The Line still feels unique and makes you reflect more on what it means to be a hero in a shooter game. And it is crazy to think that the Dubai setting has not been used in other noteworthy games, at least to my knowledge. The start of the game fits perfectly with the ideas you and the main character Walker have, as we expect just another basic military shooter based on what we have experienced before, but what we get is something truly unique. There's no shooter like it, there's only one, Spec Ops The Line. If you enjoy stories of descent into madness, like Apocalypse Now, Spec Ops is a must play. Spec Ops The Line would have claimed the #1 spot if I hadn't decided to buy a PlayStation 5 with the Black Friday deals. Initially I waited the whole year for the PS5 Pro, but when that was an overpriced disappointment, I decided to get the slim disc edition instead. Once home, it was time to play a game that has been in my possession since February 25th, 2022. Of course, I'm talking about Elden Ring. I am so glad that I decided to go into this game blind, something that was not as easy as the internet bombarded me with Elden Ring content. It amazes me how well the open world has been done, and I would constantly see something interesting in the distance, making me want to explore some more. From Software has taken everything they've learned and crafted their magnum opus. There are now so many options to play the game as you want. You can now summon spirit ashes, use many of the overpowered weapons, and summoning other players is now easier than ever. Thanks to the openness of the world, you can always go to another place of the map if you find yourself struggling with a particular boss fight. It's astounding just how big the map is, constantly getting bigger and bigger as you explore more and more of the world. Despite me getting the game towards the end of 2024, it has still become my most played game of 2024. Every free moment I have, I spent playing this game. It has lived up to my expectations, and I am glad that I finally got a chance to experience the game for myself. It's an ambitious title that will surely be looked back on fondly, and I am interested to see how it will inspire other developers in the future. With such an outstanding achievement, Elden Ring deserves to be my number 1 this year. So that's my list of top 10 games I have played in 2024. What were your favorites? Have you played Elden Ring or other titles on this list? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and here's to an incredible 2025 ahead.